Hello guys, and welcome to today's stream. Unfortunately, it's what I think is something that it should be out there immediately. I'm going to try and get this out as quickly as possible. This is a lengthy read, so bear with me, guys. It says, this is from Hal Turner. It says the end game is out in the open. Radiation leak from Ukraine nuclear plant will trigger NATO Article 5. Very alarming. Nuclear war with Russia seems to now be deliberate planned action by the West, and this weekend, elected members of the two most influential Western governments tipped their hand with what they said nuclear war may be only days away. As most readers are aware, Sabaros nuclear power plant in Ukraine, the plant was taken over by Russia. The reason they took it over is because if there was any kind of prevailing winds, it could be deadly for their troops. It also could be the radiation carried into Russia. So Russia didn't want to take a chance, and they allowed Ukraine to workers to continue to be in there. And so up until about 2 weeks ago, everything was okay. Well, then about 2 weeks ago, Ukraine started firing artillery shells towards the plant, and Ukraine claims that the Russians has troops in the plant and that those troops are allegedly carrying out the attacks against Ukraine. But Russia is denying them and saying that it is Ukraine and that Ukraine must cease fire from firing the artillery at the plant, and Ukraine has not stopped. More recently, Ukraine has now begun publicly claiming that Russia is firing Ukraine at Ukraine. Most recently, Ukraine is now publicly claiming it is Russia firing at its own people in the plant to create a fast, Freddy excuse to use tactical nukes against Ukraine. Russia has repeatedly and publicly decried the shelling of the plant and has repeatedly and publicly warned of radiation catastrophe. Russia raised the issue to the UN Security Council, and their response was that maybe in September they would come, and that is what the UN Security Council did. Nothing. Hal Turner radio show has been warning the public for almost 2 weeks that if this is a sensitive area of the plant, it could cause a reactor meltdown and explosion, sending plumes of radiation into the atmosphere into Europe, creating an utter catastrophe. We also reported that the prevailing winds would carry the radiation to the United States within about 10 days and cover the entire country about 4 days later. We even published a scientific model showing where local prevailing winds would carry the radiation within Europe if a leak was to take place between 11/15 to 2022. The model appears below. And there's a little video there, and I will link this in the comments. Anyway, it says the lack of response by the UN Security Council and lackadaisical attitude of the IAE is confounding. It makes no sense to my rational thinking person unless it's deliberate. Now we seem to have our answers. Tobias Ellwood, the MP, British Parliament, said Friday night that any deliberate damage to the Ukrainian nuclear reactors with a possible radiation leak would be a violation of NATO Article 5. A similar statement was made by Adam Kissinger, members of the U.S. House of Representatives. In his view, a radiation leak that will kill people in NATO countries will automatically trigger Article 5 of the Alliance Charter. There's the plan for all to see. If the West has supplied Ukraine with advanced and longer range weapons to use against Russia, it is the West that has imposed economic sanctions upon Russia, far worse than they imposed in Japan prior to World War II, which prompted Japan to attack the U.S. Every step that the U.S. and the vassal NATO partners have specifically designed to escalate the fighting between Ukraine and Russia and create an excuse for NATO to enter this situation. Now Ukraine is using Western-supplied weapons to attack nuclear power plant inside their own country, and the West says that if the radiation leak from the plant, that will automatically trigger NATO Article 5 collective self-defense. Well, no, it won't. Ukraine is not a member of NATO. But if I can see personally that where it would, if it's going to cause NATO allies to be sick, cause damage to them or whatever, if it's going to kill NATO countries surrounding it. But it says, worse, it is Ukraine attacking the nuclear power plant. So if radiation leak occurs, it will have been the Ukraine that caused it, not Russia, and that will have been the U.S. and NATO when facilitated by arming Ukraine. Does NATO plan on invoking Article 5 to attack itself because if the radiation leak happens? It is 99% of the fault of U.S. NATO. They are supplying Ukraine with the weapon used by to target the nuclear power plant. Of course, even the most brain-dead reader can see that NATO won't be attacking itself. They will use the radiation leak that they facilitated as an excuse to go to war with Russia. This is massive fraud by the West, and it is literally suicidal. Russia made clear from the start of its SMO that if any outside countries interfered, they would suffer consequences like never seen before in history. Russia made plain what it meant. Russia conventional forces do not compare with NATO. Conventional forces, we know that said Russian President Vladimir Putin, but Russia is also a nuclear power, and about our ability is superior to NATO. If NATO invokes Article 5 against Russia, it will be war that no one will win, Putin continued. Then we're going to go down here to the red, guys. We'll go just above the red. Now the U.S. and NATO is telling Ukraine to fire artillery shells at Zaporozhye nuclear power plant. Clearly, that's intention of causing a radiation leak. And the moment that Article 5 is invoked, Russia has already told us it will be war that no one will win. And then here is his opinion, guys. And again, this is written by Hal Turner, so I think most of this is his opinion, but this is his opine, I guess you'd say. The plan is plain as day. The pieces are in place. It is now absolutely clear to me that the United States federal government is literally out of its mind and actually trying to start World War III, which they already know will be a nuclear disaster. If you hear news reports of radiation leak at Zaporozhye nuclear power plant in Ukraine, that is your final warning signal to bug out immediately to your emergency evacuation location and stay there. It will only be hours after the leak develops that NATO will invoke Article 5 in less than 1 day until hostilities between NATO and Russia escalate to nuclear war. So guys, he's saying we are all now in grave danger from this action by our government. And should anything happen, you know, I guess he's being preemptive, you know, and he's wanting to get this information out there. As I read it, I tell you, you know, it is troublesome, very bothersome to me. And I can only speak for my house that, you know, do I think that this is a possibility? Well, most definitely. Do I think that all of this can, you know, possibly end without all of that happening? Most definitely as well. So we are praying for the best, and I will continue to keep each and every one of you updated as quickly, as fast as possible. But again, if you hear of a leak, according to him, I would definitely agree with that scenario. If you plan on bugging out, or if you have a location to get to, you probably need to get there now. Anyway, God bless you all. Have a wonderful day. And again, I do have another article. I may or may not bring it tonight. It might be saved for tomorrow. But it is just disconnecting Russia from the West, switching from SWIFT to a new payment system. Which countries are next? The U.S. letter. So I might just try and put that there with the Hal Turner in the comment section, and you guys can check it out for yourselves. Anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. As always, I am waiting to, any day, I did win my appeal and I got my video back, but they haven't reinstated the channel, guys. So keep me in prayer. If anything breaks, please look here for notifications. Anyway, God bless you and have a blessed day. Bye.